Well, thank you for joining me for another ITY video with top Australian and international executives. Today I have with me Vic Mankotia. He is the VP of Security and API Management at CA Technologies for the APJ region, based in Australia and an Australian citizen. I'm at the CA Technology event with Vic, who spoke yesterday about security and API management. But I thought I'd start off by asking Vic to please tell us about your role and responsibilities at CA Technology, and welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Yesterday I spoke about how CA as a company, and part of the business I look after is the security business and the API management business. Both these businesses are extremely relevant in the Australian market and the APJ market today. When you look at security, the security from CA is all about enabling customers get more done with the least amount of friction in their processes, in their applications, in the way they do business. And we position our security as a leading suite, both from integration and scalability, looking after 5 key aspects. To begin with, identity. I think identity is the new perimeter. No longer is information contained inside the DMZ. So identity, which then governs the access. Access can be privileged access management, privileged identity management, single sign-on, federated single sign-on, mobile access management, mobile single sign-on, and that's the access control part of it. So identity and access. We are reaching now a world where people are using different devices to do different things, and maybe 3 or 5 devices, your home device, your automotive device, your mobile device, your tablet,
Wearable devices.
Your wearable devices. And the personas people have on these devices, Alex, are different. They could be different devices, different personas, but the same identity. And how people transmit, transact, exchange information has to be authenticated as to the same identity using these different devices in these different modes. And authentication, or risk-based authentication, or multi-factor authentication, whichever way the industry wants to call it, is what we do.
Yeah.
We do risk scoring. We do risk scoring for transactions. We do 2-factor authentication for banking. We do loyalty card, dual password activity, or activation verification, and this takes place across the digital realm. And the fourth being the mobile part of the business is mobile access gateway, because a lot of searches, a lot of indexing, a lot of browsing, the creation, just to qualify, I am a consumer of the information from a mobile device.
Most of us are.
And the generation coming into the workforce today are creators of that information today. And that information, 90% or more information today is unstructured. And there are people creating it. And how do mobile access gateways allow the right information, identity, and those people having the right access on the right device to the right people? And that's what our security suite does. It enables businesses, individuals, peoples, corporations, companies to transact, perform their business, go to work, where security is an enabler, not a barrier. It is behind the scenes, making sure that the experience is secure. So that was the security part of the presentation you referred to.
And then there was the API.
Yesterday.
And there was the API management part of it. And so I thought maybe we'd start off. I'm sure most people watching would know, but what's your definition of an API? And before you go into the API management side of things, how are people and companies using them with CA Technologies and even profiting from them?
Very good question. The application programming interface replaces what was known as the services-oriented architecture. The architecture we've had for the last 20 years in capture, transmit, and login works. But people want real-time information. They want real-time feeds. I'm not saying the web is dead, but it's nearly getting there. Nobody does a triple W search from a mobile device. People use specific applications for specific information they need to go about their work or personal life. And all those applications sit on a device. You come into a point in Australia where you have more than 80 applications per device, per mobile device. And you may want to segregate a handheld versus a tablet and have different applications. But people are using a lot of applications for navigation, for email, for weather channels, for television programs, for recording satellite television, for various things. And they want to do it out of one device using an application which is dedicated to that service. Now, once you have applications, those applications cannot rely on the old services-oriented architecture. Neither can they rely on capture, transmit, and login. It is too slow, it's too cumbersome, and it's not real time.
In the modern era, instant gratification isn't instant enough.
In today's world, and remember, we are living in Australia. We have 4G. Most places have 3G. People have home Wi-Fi, and they're connected, and they want to do it straight away. Right from the little ones using games or whatever to banking to business. Their corporate applications, their personal applications, their public applications, their trading applications. All these applications are using a common interface called the API, or the Application Programming Interface. And depending how rich, nourished, and composite these applications are, people still have to manage identity, access, authentication, verification, and deliver the right information to the people who are seeking or clicking or tapping those applications.
Which could be people within the business, people that you work with in other businesses, and the general public, or government, whoever it might be, everybody.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure your device, your phones, your tablets have multiple applications which have different personas. You get your news from an application, you get your banking from an application, you get your work email from an application, you maybe perhaps do entertainment and watch television in my context of television content through an application.
I mean, people
who
capture, who use public transport to get to work and rely on the buses or trains, often in
Absolutely.
Australia use TripView, which is an app that is gathering the data via APIs from the relevant state transport organisations,
Absolutely.
which has been a boon for people just wanting to know when the bus or train's coming.
I'm based, as you said,
in Melbourne,
Australia. I live in the great state of Victoria, and I do catch public transport to go and see the footy. We won't talk about the various football teams.
Sure. We'll be here all day.
We'll be here all day. But I do take public transport, and I do have an application which tells me the train schedules, which tells me the tram schedules, which tells me what time the last train, and people use that as an example.
And nowadays they have a GPS, and then you see the damn thing coming at you on the map, like Uber, except it's your train or your tram or your bus.
And
it's quite incredible.
Better. It'll tell you where your Wi-Fi signal drops in, drops out, how you're connected. And people have now multiple applications open at the same time, exchanging multiple APIs, sometimes the same. So APIs are very relevant in our world, in our workplace, our personal lives, on a mobile digital platform today. Having said that, how do I monetize APIs? It's a very good question. Monetizing APIs, as you asked earlier, can happen in different ways. I can make an application using public APIs, like the transportation application, and sell my application for a certain value. That's one way.
Pretty easy.
The second way is I do not charge for it, but I do take that information. I harvest the data for good and then promote it to the various retailers, e-tailers, organizations to give you a more nourished experience.
Are there companies that come to CA Technologies and say, look, we have all these computer systems and databases, we know we have information we could share via an API, but we don't have the people to help us create those APIs and then put them into apps? I mean, do you help them with that, or do you put them onto companies that can help them with that?
Oh no, so both, a bit of both.
Mhm.
If you go back to the history of our industry, there was a mainframe,
Mm-hmm.
there was structured databases,
Yeah.
and most of the information which is called big data today was structured and managed
Mhm.
in a container or a room or a place.
Sure. And now we have so much unstructured
Or a
info
data
as well.
center.
Yeah.
Government agencies, large organizations, banks, telcos.
It was all
enterprises.
siloed, you know.
It was secured
Yeah.
and siloed and left alone. Now they want to tap into that information and put it in relevance to a mobile application, the type we spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you take out that information from a structured database or a mainframe and put it on a mobile application?
And in a secure way that isn't being
And in a way,
siphoned by competitors without...
or draining out.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or leaking.
Whatever it might be,
or-
yeah.
So you need identity to
Mhm.
make sure, you need access.
Which is
to
the
make sure.
security you were talking
You
about.
need authentication to make sure you do that. And then we have application creator as a part of our API suite.
Mm-hmm.
You automatically create applications to generate APIs. Then you classify those APIs as private or public.
Mm-hmm.
And the private APIs are used by the organizations and controlled by the organizations. The public APIs are left to a community of developers who we work with during our API academies, our hackathons, for them to learn how to create APIs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you will have an organization which wants a very specific classified API generation for an application,
Mhm.
which is internal. And that's when we engage our system integrators, our partners to help us working with organizations and agencies to do that.
I can't remember if it was in your session or somebody else's, but they were talking about how a company wanted to have a hackathon to be able to generate ideas on how to be able to use the information that could be shared via APIs, and the team that won was an internal team who had thought of ways to use the information that they weren't able to previously share with the company, and it was a great surprise to them and the company they won, and they were very happy about it because they were suddenly able to do something that they had the information, they had the capability, but they'd never joined two and two together until they had that hackathon process.
That is so atypical. That was my session.
Yeah.
That was Trent Maybury, the general manager for Accenture Digital for APJ,
Mm.
who was referring to that. And yes, we run regular hackathons. We are running one today in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
We will move it across the geography. We have a set of people who do that. We got anything between 150 to 250 people in the room for 5 days, where we will have communities, people, employees, contractors, people who work with partners, all in one room in different sessions, learning how to create, share, generate, and possibly put them into play, various APIs and applications.
Sure. Now I have your session from yesterday recorded, as well as the extra information from Trent from Accenture. But I thought I'd just ask, you're talking to ITY's business IT audience.
Mhm.
What other message would you like to share with them before we go?
We are living in a world where it's no longer segregated and left to us to manage what I call the work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a work-life continuum.
Mm.
In this world, identity has become the new perimeter. No information is going to be 100% secure. People are at a point where the digital economy, the application economy, the next evolution of our industry is on a digital mobile platform, which is powered with people using applications, which is built on blocks called APIs. You have to have your identity, your access, your authentication, and your APIs in one row,
Mm-hmm.
which takes security to a very proactive piece of the conversation in the architecture. Gone are the days where I could bolt on security
After the fact,
after
yeah.
something
Yeah.
went wrong.
No, yeah.
So we got to think about it proactively.
Mm.
That's my first message. My second message is, because we're creating so much unstructured information and there's so many applications and devices, we have to make sure that at any stage in that work-life continuum, we are not sacrificing our privacy for the sake of convenience.
I'm very pro that. Absolutely.
So that's a fine balance which needs to be struck between the users and the people who develop applications.
Mhm.
Because privacy will very soon take front seats or center stage and become something what citizens want to claim back.
Well, they'll choose solutions that offer that and guarantee that. And they'll even pay extra for that, as opposed to things that are free, but take your privacy and use it like a soccer ball or something, or a piece of chewing gum.
People have to. I mean, you've seen
Yeah.
so many applications come out. I think privacy becomes very relevant, especially in the Australian context, with privacy laws being very stringent.
Mm-hmm.
As industries like healthcare, fitness, travel, logistics,
Even just shopping.
departmental agencies. Shopping is like the entry level, as I say. Ask for social logins and compression. I would recommend mobile single sign-on.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend using proper security measures and what I call segregation of information or separation of duties. Very important. And I think as consumers, we are given devices which are powerful. We're given applications which are very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
We're given connectivity which is good. And we sometimes fail to see the balance between the convenience and security.
Mm.
I, being a security professional, will absolutely recommend that, but I think that needs to be in the psyche of our citizens, governments, and businesses.
And given how quickly all of this has evolved, I mean, we're still at the very beginning of this journey. It'll be fascinating to see how the API application and devices and our understanding of it all and the sophistication of apps will evolve over the next 5 to 10 years.
I would say less. Quicker and faster. I mean, the connected car is a reality.
Mm-hmm.
How we do business, how you are doing this interview, how I'm going to go and do my business today, check into a flight, hotel, shop, even the way we use our communication devices by age bracket or generation is changing.
Mm.
So evolution is extremely important and vital, and it's in play, but how we manage that evolution process for the benefit of the greater good and maintain, most importantly, confidence in this ever-connected world is going to become paramount.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Vic, and good luck with the rest of the conference.
Thank you for having me, Alex.